Kansas and Villanova play for the South Region title and a trip to the Final Four on this floor Saturday, about 7:49 p.m. Central Time. I'll tell you what, I can't think of two teams in the NCAA tournament that have played better through 3 games than Kansas and Villanova. Jesse, what's it going to take for Kansas to get to the Final Four for the first time since 2012?
Well, it'll take a complete effort. I think you said it well because both teams balance, both teams playing well on both ends. And you know how I love my advanced rankings. The teams are number 1 and number 2 in the Ken Pomeroy rankings. So you'd have to think that this might be the toughest SKU has the rest of the way, even if they make the Final Four. So they'll need a complete effort. You can't just play defense, can't just play offense. We'll have to do both against Villanova.
And Villanova shooting the ball so well, 53% on threes in the tournament. Pick a player, and that player is playing well for the Wildcats. Sam, what do you see? How does Kansas win this thing tomorrow?
I think you just mentioned it. Like that can't continue. Like they are shooting lights out, but they haven't faced anybody that plays defense the way that Kansas does. I mean, Miami, they're okay, and they've got some athletes on the perimeter, but they weren't stretching out to the three-point line the way that Kansas does. We talked about this all the time about how since Landon Lucas's insertion into the starting lineup, they're like the best team in the country, the best defensive team in the country, and I just think that's going to be the difference. Villanova's a really good team. They've got balance. They've got some similarities to KU actually, but I just don't think they've faced a team that plays defense the way Kansas does.
Well, I agree with that. I just think Kansas at every position has a chance to win the battle.
Yeah, right.
Win the battle. And even though Frank Mason, Devontae Graham aren't scoring the way we've seen them score earlier in the year, they play great defense against Maryland, against Melo Trimble and Rashid Suleiman in the Sweet 16 victory. Vahe, what do you think? How do you break it down?
Well, one of the things you got into, and it's going to be an unmistakable thing to look for tomorrow, is the three-point shooting stuff. And Sam, you're right. I don't think it can hold up. 33 of 62, I think Villanova is in the tournament from three-point. Kansas is just 15 of 42. But if the fancy term I learned from Sam, regression to the mean, is that it? Yeah. If you look at Villanova on the season, they've taken more than 200 more three-pointers than Kansas and made like 25 more. Kansas has taken smart threes, generally speaking. But those numbers will matter tomorrow, how those play out. But I think Kansas is still the better team. And as you put it, I think they'll win each position battle in the end.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I think Kansas, Jesse, they've been at times a little turnover prone, and I think Villanova can put some defensive pressure on them. I saw, they bothered Miami early when they got up, early on Miami. Miami fought back, made it a one-point game, and then Villanova put it away. But defensively, is Villanova a team that can bother Kansas a little bit?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest difference between Maryland and Villanova, if you're looking at it, is just the ability to force turnovers, the ability to trap and get guys in difficult situations. And you're right, Kansas has those 2 point guards, so you'd figure they'd be better, and they were a lot better with turnovers earlier in the year. But when you do pressure them some, they have turned over against more pressing type teams like the West Virginias of the world. So that'll be a test for KU. And as you mentioned, the KU guards didn't perform perfectly against Maryland on Thursday. So we'll see how they perform Saturday.
I got something I want to walk back in the form of a question to all you guys. I don't know that Frank Mason's winning his battle. But what I don't get is to what degree he's hurt, to what degree that matters, to what degree he'll be the guy that I thought was in a pretty good groove for several weeks and has not been that in the tournament. Anybody have any thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know. I thought it was big yesterday when he hit a three-pointer. It was his first three-pointer of the tournament, and he shot it confidently. He wanted to shoot it, and he let it fly, and it went in early in the second half. And I do think his defense was very good in the second half. And if they can end up with 11 points, of course, 2 were, I believe, with about 1 second to play, the final flip into the basket. But I think if they can get him to play great, he's probably going to be on, what's his name?
Ryan Arcidiacono.
The first one to say it. Ryan Arcidiacono. He's probably going to be. Don't you think that'll be his defensive assignment?
I would think so. And as Sam said, it's going to be a team defensive assignment. I think one of the big ones for KU with the three-point shooting is Perry Ellis. He's the one guy that hasn't gotten out to shooters sometimes. You've seen guys like George Niang take advantage of that matchup. So that'll be the one for KU. Can he get out to shooters and extend that far? That'll be a big key.
Yeah. So here we go. Final 4 on the line for Kansas and Villanova. The winner goes to Houston. Kansas City sports fans are familiar with that town. The Chiefs and the Royals have been there in the postseason here in the last several months. So follow the coverage of the Jayhawks, the NCAA tournament, in the print editions of the Kansas City Star and online at kansascity.com.